We've had this unexpected announcement of a ceasefire this evening. But there are a lot of facts which we have about what happened and what led to the ceasefire, which I want to share with you. But first, let me give you my frank view about Donald Trump's announcement. I think it's inappropriate, unnecessary, and as usual, Donald Trump has tried to give the impression that he's the peacemaker here. Donald Trump must know that he's not the peacemaker. And if he's worked a little bit of the back channel, then in typical Donald Trump style, to try and appear to be the global peacemaker on Truth Social is an easy tactic for him, but not something that has true substance. All Donald Trump wanted to do was to take credit, and that's why he tried to preempt everybody by making the initial announcement. But we know the facts, don't we? Donald Trump didn't bring peace here. It's not because of Donald Trump that Pakistan came begging for a ceasefire. It's not Donald Trump or the American army that hammered Rawalpindi. It was the Indian army. It wasn't Donald Trump who took revenge for Pahalgam. It were the Indian armed forces who we are so proud of. It wasn't Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just fighting China. It is the Indian army which effectively destroyed the credibility of Chinese weapons. It isn't Donald Trump who pummeled the air bases where the drones were being fired from. It was the Indian army which successfully destroyed the breeding grounds for terrorists. And therefore, I believe that all that Donald Trump tried to do was that after we hammered the Pakistanis, destroyed their air bases, struck their terror camps, hit multiple locations, 9 terrorist camps day 1, 4 locations the second day, 6 locations as of early this morning. After our weapons destroyed the Noor Khan air base, after we destroyed and crippled the HQ-9 air defense system, which was Chinese supplied, and proved to the world that the biggest swarm drone attack on us turned into a Diwali night when we put out our air defense artillery against their loitering munitions and destroyed them and brought them down to dust. I don't have much to say about a US president who's just too keen to take credit, but I know and you know and we all know, ladies and gentlemen, that it was Operation Sindoor which was an absolute success. And for that, we must forever be in debt to our army, to our navy, and our air force. We don't need an American president to come and say, I brought peace. You didn't, Donald Trump. Don't make your own story about it. The camps of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, Hizbul Mujahideen, and Jaish-e-Mohammed were not destroyed by the US Marine Corps. They were destroyed by the Bharatiya Sena, by the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force. Americans can say what they want, but the world knows the Americans always did business with those who call themselves the Mujahideen and used them every single day, knowing fully well that they're entertaining and they're in bed with terrorists, but the Americans always did that. And now an American president wants us to believe that he had a role, but no. It was the Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force which led this operation. We are the ones who killed hundreds of terrorists, including the relative of Masood Azhar. We did. This is our operation. This is our victory. Donald Trump doesn't even know where Murid Ke is, which we bombed. Donald Trump doesn't know where Muzaffarabad is, where we destroyed a special operations group training site where the Pakistan intelligence agencies regularly on a daily basis train the LET and the Jaish-e-Mohammed recruits. And so I will say repeatedly tonight, forces first, no compromise. My heart, my soul, every beat of my heart is for the Indian Army, for the nation, and for the forces. And to the forces, therefore, tonight we must all come together and say, thank you for destroying the Abbas camp. Thank you for destroying the Barnala camp in Bimbar. Thank you for teaching these jihadis a lesson. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for destroying the Markaz-e-Taiba in Murid Ke. Thank you for putting fear into the hearts of those Pakistani jihadis. And that's why I was infuriated when I saw a Truth Social post. No, Donald Trump, you didn't. We brought the Pakistani army down to dust. Because our Air Force is far more accomplished than any other nation's. Our Air Force, our army, we destroyed the Noor Khan Air Base. Did Donald Trump do that? No. We destroyed the Rafiki Air Base. We destroyed the Murid Air Base. This morning, we destroyed the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. This morning, we destroyed the Sukur Air Base. We destroyed the places, and we'll celebrate it for the rest of our lives, what we did. Every single day, our heart must beat for the forces who achieved this. Because this is incredible. When I saw the images this morning of the way in which the latest strikes targeted the radar stations, command and control centers, ammunition depots, aerial strike capabilities, and this morning, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, I heard a Pakistani air marshal go on a Pakistani channel and say, we are rattled by the strength and determination of the Indian forces. We have no option. We have no option. Please don't. When I heard him say that, I said, we won. And for that victory, my heart will always beat for the armed forces of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, our armed forces have destroyed and neutralized Pakistan's air defense systems. And then Pakistan caved and begged and begged and begged and begged for a ceasefire. And let there be an eternal debate on whether there should have been a ceasefire or not. These are political issues, but the fact is Pakistan had to run here and there, helter-skelter, begging and pressing for a ceasefire, which is why this afternoon they made a phone call saying, give us a ceasefire. Can they deny that? Did their DGMO not initiate the phone conversation to our DGMO saying, let's have a ceasefire? Now you and I can debate for eternity on whether that should have been accepted or not, and on the modalities under which it should have been accepted or not. But the fact is that if there's a group of people in this country who want to say Donald Trump brought about a ceasefire, then they're lying to you. This ceasefire was brought upon in a situation where the Pakistani army admitted it cannot fight the Indian army. Ladies and gentlemen, when their entire ADF failed, when across India they were littered across the Western Front with pictures of Indian children playing with the shells that were bombed in the sky, when all those images of those drones being brought down will be in my mind forever. And for every such visual, every such moment, every such successive victory that I have felt as an Indian when I've cheered for our forces, I will be forever grateful from the bottom of my heart to the Indian Armed Forces for what they have done. They forced the Americans to try and claim that they brought about a ceasefire, but isn't it the Americans who got a call from the Pakistanis? Aren't they the ones who initiated the call? Ladies and gentlemen, isn't their ego hurt? Asif Munir, take that visual. Take that visual as a representation of how we deal with you. This was supposed to be a Fatah 3, picked up by ordinary people. And now they'll put these munitions up maybe in their homes to decorate their homes so that generations of Indians remember the crushing defeat that the Indian Armed Forces delivered to the Pakistanis over the last 4 days. So every single moment, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to celebrate what our armed forces did. The rest will be history. The fact is, when the Pakistanis called us for a ceasefire, it is because the Indian Armed Forces had an absolute upper hand and the Pakistanis knew it. It is in those circumstances that a call was made. Not just because Pakistan could not afford a war economically, but because they had no heart or ability to fight a real war with India. And that is the real context. I know a lot of people will go around next few days establishing the context. For me, there is just one context, ladies and gentlemen. Just one context. That our armed forces delivered us a huge success. A huge success. The ceasefire is a very bland way of trying to put an end to the story. The story is simply this, as far as I'm concerned, that an army of Pakistan that could not aim at its targets, that had a broken arsenal, that hit innocents, and in frustration targeted a Gurudwara. It's nothing but a TikTok army. It's drama. It's exposed. And it lost.